The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Coming up, a teacher who had been a mentor.
This kid is a leader.
And later, a mother.
Yeah, you can adopt me.
A story of finding family in the classroom.
I needed him probably as much or more than he needed me.
Then, she wasn't behind the wheel, but she still let a drunk take the keys.
The investigator looks at me and he says, "Do you have any idea what happened here tonight?"
Her story of recovery on today's 700 Club.
Hi, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the 700 Club. In the news, Hamas says a truce is in effect after it launched a series of explosive rocket and airstrikes against Israel Thursday. Israel says the quiet from Hamas will be met with quiet from Israel. But as John Wagi reports, that doesn't do much to calm the nerves of the Israelis who live along the border with Gaza.
The current lull began after a Hamas Grad rocket landed in Beersheba, Israel's third largest city. Israel responded by blowing up a 5-story building it says was a Hamas headquarters. For more than 10 years, Israelis living near the Gaza Strip have had to put up with deadly rocket attacks, flaming kites and balloons, terror tunnels, and much more. And this is Ground Zero, the city of Sderot.
The children is very frightened. They're scaring, they're crying.
During a 24-hour period, Hamas pounded Israeli communities near Gaza with nearly 200 rockets. Now it's quiet. Asi Anikovich is a farmer. He says even his cows give less milk because of the rockets.
This situation is not good for the cows.
Despite the current halt in fighting, Israel's security cabinet directed the army to act with force against terrorist perpetrators.
The IDF is committed to defend the state of Israel, its civilians, and its sovereignty, and we are ready and prepared for different scenarios to come.
But Yedidya Harush, who lives in a border community, says the government needs to deal more harshly with Hamas.
Their goal is to continue this conflict as long as they can. We have to understand Hamas, with a long-term agreement, Hamas is no longer relevant. And their entire existence is based on hatred and killing and death. We make our lives holy while they make their death.
John Wagi, CBN News, Sderot, near the Israeli-Gaza border.
Well, Hamas may be saying that a truce is in effect, but you remember before those bombs fell, before that intrusion happened, there were discussions for peace. So don't take their word about much of anything, but pray for Israel, pray for Jerusalem, pray for the leadership there. You know, it's almost like God has set us as believers as a guard on the wall for them. So let's make sure that we do that faithfully. Well, here at home, the governor of Virginia has issued a state of emergency as thousands mark the one-year anniversary of deadly protests in Charlottesville. Wendy Griffith has that story from the CBN newsroom. Wendy?
That's right, Terry. This year, instead of marching, the Unite the Right movement plans to demonstrate in the nation's capital. CBN's Amber Strong shows us how police and churches in D.C. plan to keep the peace.
1 year after violence between white nationalists and counter-protesters rocked the college town of Charlottesville, Virginia, D.C. police are tightening their defenses, preparing for round 2.
I can assure you that the planning and coordination amongst MPD and our local and federal partners has been seamless.
The organizer of that Charlottesville Unite the Right rally has requested permission to gather here at Lafayette Park, right across from the White House this weekend. And counter-protesters like the Democratic Socialists of D.C., well, they plan to hit the streets too. D.C. Police Chief Peter Newsham says while his department has a duty to preserve the right to free speech, it must also protect citizens.
The law allows for First Amendment assemblies of any kind. The law does not allow for injury to persons or destruction of property.
This week, D.C. Metro assured to CBN News they will work to keep the ralliers separate, a major factor leading to the violence in Charlottesville. They also tell us, quote, "Our Special Operations Division is equipped to handle demonstrations of any stature." And in Virginia, Governor Ralph Northam declaring a state of emergency in preparation for any demonstrations, particularly in Charlottesville. Meanwhile, standing on the side of peace, dozens of pastors who plan to gather in both places.
We're going to worship Jesus and then intercede for the peace of Charlottesville, but also for the peace of the nation.
Bishop Harry Jackson, who helped lead a prayer march after last year's deadly events, says a lot has happened since then, and Charlottesville churches are working to close the doors of division.
Jesus said in the last days that nation will rise up against nation, ethnic group against ethnic group. That's going to continue to happen. Racial hatred will happen and will be played out everywhere except where the church has risen strong as salt and light.
Here in Washington, members of the United Methodist Church will host a Sunday service on the National Mall. Reverend Dr. Stacy Cole told CBN News the event will be the exercise of MLK's observation that the church is called to be the conscience of a nation. In that spirit, we call people to come together and speak the truth in love. Now, the organizer of that event tells us they expect more than 3,000 people from across denominations, an event they are calling United to Love. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Amber. Well, church leaders in California are worried state lawmakers will soon pass a bill that could restrict their ministry. The bill outlaws sexual orientation change efforts and could strip therapists and churches of their ability to help those with same-sex attraction. It could also forbid the sale of books on that topic. Greg Bird, a spokesman for the California Family Council, says now is the time for believers in California to contact their lawmakers.
We've got some indications that they're starting to get worried because the churches are starting to speak up. And legislators need churches not to come out against them. There are plenty of Christians still in this state, and if they all speak up at once, that makes legislators very nervous.
LGBT supporters of the bill oppose Christian counseling to change sexual orientation. They say it's led to pain and suffering. The California legislative session ends August 31st. Well, the final frontier may soon become the next military battleground. The Trump administration is calling for a U.S. Space Force by the year 2020. Vice President Mike Pence says it's necessary to protect U.S. dominance in space as America faces growing threats from China and Russia. The first step would be to create a U.S. Space Command by the end of the year. It would have dedicated resources and be led by a 4-star general, a new Secretary of Space. The Pentagon will set up an office to buy satellites and develop new technology such as lasers and other weapons.
The space environment has fundamentally changed in the last generation. What was once peaceful and uncontested is now crowded and adversarial. Today, other nations are seeking to disrupt our space-based systems and challenge American supremacy in space as never before.
Congress would have to approve the new Space Force. Well, day after day, we see Christianity under attack here in the United States, and in some cases, it's become very ugly and personal. No one knows that more than Vice President Mike Pence. He became a target this week in a scathing opinion piece in the New York Times. But now supporters are speaking out in his defense. CBN's Jenna Browder has that story from Washington.
Just months after The View's Joy Behar apologized for her demeaning remarks about the vice president's faith, an even more vicious attack by columnist Frank Bruni.
The headline, Mike Pence, Holy Terror. In it, Bruni calls Pence self-infatuated, a bigot, and a liar. His argument, President Trump may be bad, but Vice President Pence would be even worse because of his deeply held and practiced religious beliefs.
What is your response to this column in the New York Times?
It just shows you the never-ending attack on Christianity, Christians, and really people of faith by the liberals and their namesake, leader in the New York Times.
Mark Lauder, the vice president's former press secretary, has known Pence for more than 25 years.
They're attacking a man, a good man, and the vice president of the United States for primarily being a Christian and someone who believes.
The piece claims Pence is determined to, quote, mold the entire nation in the shape of his own faith, a regressive, repressive version of Christianity.
are Pence's views regressive and repressive?
No, absolutely not. He's worried about the success of our entire country and everyone in it.
Franklin Graham and other faith leaders quickly jumped to the defense. On Facebook, Graham wrote, quote, "I am disappointed that the New York Times would stoop so low. I've never seen such hatred poured out against such a good man." Secretary of Energy Rick Perry also took a stand and says he's experienced the same kind of criticism.
Mike lives his life through his lens of faith. And again, I go back to, what part of the Ten Commandments, which one of those you don't like? And we argue in this country about a lot of different things.
So help me God.
Lauder says Pence meant those words, and Americans should want a leader who practices what he preaches.
That's the kind of leader we should aspire to want. And as long as we're focused on everyone's success, on everyone's well-being, and those words that are given to us in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, that's where our focus should be for elected leaders, and that's what we have in Vice President Mike Pence.
In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thanks, Jenna. Well, Terry, the Bible says we'll be persecuted for our faith, so I guess this shouldn't come as too big of a surprise.
It doesn't come as a surprise, Wendy, but boy, I'm sure the rest of you agree with me. You just kind of shake your head saying, how did we get here? Yesterday, if you saw, we ran a story about Pastor Greg Lowry out in California, who's holding just a forum, I guess like a Billy Graham gathering in a stadium out there. And a billboard was taken down advertising where that was and when it was going to happen. No spiritual message on it, just because he was holding a Bible and that was offensive to someone. This is the United States of America. You kind of feel like you went away somewhere and came back and suddenly everything had changed. There's such a lack of civility in our culture today in how we communicate with each other. But to see this kind of ranting go on in print about a man strictly because of his faith is so un-American and really troubling. We all need to be in prayer and, as Wendy said, at the same time, not surprised that what has been prophesied is coming to pass. But let's be faithful in the hour we live in. Well, coming up, they called the woman who ran this bakery crazy, and then they tried her secret recipe.
But I had to take all the steps and put them together. So I got in there and I said, okay, here we go, Mom. Let's do this. And first time, they came out great.
See what makes these kolaches so special when we come back.
Join the celebration as the Superbook Summer Splash Party continues. Receive 3 of the best water adventures from the Bible when you join the Superbook Club. You'll receive this special bonus pack with this month's episode, Explorer 16, featuring 2 special versions of our most exciting Superbook episodes, plus Bible videos, a how to draw lesson, music, and much more. Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook Explorer 16, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25. And as part of our Superbook Summer Splash Party bonus, receive 3 additional Superbook episodes featuring the best raging water stories from the Bible. The Superbook Splash Party bonus includes Noah and the Ark, Jonah, and Paul and the Shipwreck. Join the Superbook Club today, and for a limited time, receive the Superbook Summer Splash Party bonus as our way of saying thanks. Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1 and 2 is now available.
Do you support the president? Do you support Trump's tax plan? Are you concerned it will affect your retirement income in a post-Trump era? Help protect your financial future and call Annuity General for your complimentary book. From a leading financial firm that shows you ways to not run out of money, whether the market goes up or down. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can protect your money for a lifetime. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report summarizing the rates and benefits of annuities from hundreds of top-rated insurers, helping you find ways to get up to 33% more income in retirement. Invaluable advice for an uncertain age. That's right, 2 books both absolutely free for calling Annuity General. Help protect your financial future.
Call 800-950-9977. That's 800-950-9977. Call now.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
The response has been overwhelming to our Build a Better Gut series. If you want more great health tips, go to cbn.com or you can call our toll-free line. It's 1-800-700-7000 and ask for our free booklet. On Monday's show, health reporter Lori Johnson reveals how you can take care of your body on a budget. So more wonderful information about how to have a healthy gut, how to use food to do that, and what kind of prebiotics and probiotics are a part of that. So join us Monday. Tara McGraw is planting seeds for Christ on a street corner in Dallas, Texas. She's not a sidewalk evangelist or part of a ministry to the homeless. She's a Czech bakery owner. Commuters headed toward the Dallas North Tollway each morning are her customers and her mission field. Caitlin Burt brings us her story.
Oh, Zamiko kolaches, it came from my grandmom. And if you come to Dallas, you gotta get you some.
It's nearly impossible to drive past this shop unaware.
Oh, Zamiko kolaches, one taste and you'll agree. It's the best kolache 'cause the Lord gave it to me. Hey!
Tara McGraw opened the Zemikal Kolache Bakery here less than a year ago, although Texans have enjoyed the Czech dessert for decades.
A kolache is a type of pastry that holds fruit, chocolate, or even cream cheese. Fruit is my personal favorite, and the Zemikal recipe has been perfected.
Making the same treats her ancestors first brought to Texas wasn't McGraw's career plan, but it was the dream of her mom, who's also responsible for the song.
Hours, she would do that, hours. I don't know where she got the energy.
When I first opened, the cars would pass and no one looked from side to side. They were mainly interested in, am I going to catch the signal light or not? So I just got out there with my towel and just basically started waving at them. And then in my waving, I just got bored and started making up a tune, and it got rhythmic, and the Zemikal Kolache song was born.
My mother had more energy than anyone I have ever met in my life. She had a very big personality. She was bubbly. She was the lady, and when she walked into the room, that's when the party started. And she did everything. She could do anything. And when she decided she was going to do the kolaches, she was going to do it big. So she got into it, and she had fun.
That was in Calvert, Texas, a small town between College Station and Waco. Locals lovingly knew her as the crazy kolache lady.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But then she got sick, and in 2015, Jody Powers lost her battle with leukemia. The store closed.
I ended up with a bakery full of equipment, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I thought, well, we can bake kolaches.
At first, Tara considered the move a gift to her late mother. Then she realized the bakery was really a gift for her.
She sang her song. It's the best kolache 'cause the Lord gave it to me. Hey. And I thought, okay, God gave this to her and God gave this to me. So I'm gonna go and take it, I'm gonna sing the song, and it's just a way that we sort of spread the word a little bit.
But she found out that getting things up and running wouldn't be easy. Tara faced a pretty steep learning curve.
When my mom was alive, I would not learn to make the kolaches because she was sick and I wanted her to make the kolaches. I wanted her to live and to make them. My aunt came and she helped get the place going, but then it was time for her to go back to Houston, where she's from, and I still didn't really know how to do it all that well. I knew the steps, and I'd done them one at a time, but I had to take all the steps and put them together. So I got in there and I said, okay, here we go, Mom, let's do this. And first time, they came out great.
Now that she's got the hang of things, Tara's taking her mom's dream and building on it.
We're getting set up with a whole bunch of different lines of fudge, and we're going to be doing fresh baked pies because we already do the fruit fillings for our kolaches.
So then the crazy kolache lady of Calvert, Texas lives on. Reminders of her placed all over the bakery, including her endless energy and personality.
Oh, kolache, what taste good, you'll agree. It's the best kolache, 'cause the Lord gave it to me. Hey!
Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Dallas, Texas.
Now that's a positive work environment, can I just say? And as you look at that, doesn't your mouth water just a little bit, like for a cup of coffee and a kolache? Looks like they have a great business, and what a wonderful tradition to carry on. That mom has left a legacy that continues. Well, coming up, a teacher remembers a student who wasn't just trying to get good grades. He was trying to find a family.
So, well, if you're gonna be my kid, if you was ever my kid, you have to be good. And he said, for how long? And I said, forever. God, what are you talking about?
Hear an inspirational story that began in a classroom and ended in an adoption center. That's next.
Let's take a look at some numbers. 4 out of 5 people who have a stroke, their first symptom is a stroke. 80% of all strokes and heart disease, preventable. And $149 is all it takes to get screened and help take control of your health. We're Lifeline Screening, and if you're over 50, call this number to schedule an appointment for 5 painless screenings that go beyond regular checkups. We use ultrasound technology to literally look inside your arteries for plaque, which builds up as you age and increases your risk for stroke and cardiovascular disease. And by getting them through this package, you're saving over 50%. So call today and consider these numbers. For just $149, you'll receive 5 screenings that could reveal what your body isn't telling you.
And I'm going to tell you that's the best $150 I've ever spent in my life.
Lifeline Screening, the power of prevention. Call now to learn more.
Attention, do you have Medicare? Do you want to make sure you have the most benefits and lowest possible out-of-pocket costs? You may be able to lower your out-of-pocket costs and get dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. Call the Medicare Coverage Helpline now to find out what you deserve.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Over 3 million people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline, but there are still many people who don't check to see if they're eligible for more benefits and lower out-of-pocket costs. It's so easy. One simple free call could save you money and get you more benefits. Be smart. Call the Medicare Coverage Helpline now.
Call now to see if you may be eligible to lower your copays and get extra benefits, including dental and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're able to save money and get more benefits now. Call 1-800-256-3200 now. Again, call 1-800-256-3200 now.
Monday, time for another Gut Check. Our wildly popular series gets an encore.
God has given me the gift of teaching people how to eat real food on a budget.
Hear how to take care of your body without breaking the bank.
You can actually make cooking from scratch work in your favor.
And then, a young woman with bleeding on her brain.
I knew that I was dying.
Her trip to the ER and beyond.
He said it was not yet my time.
Monday.
Dr. Bennie Berry is a teacher whose students love her. In fact, a few joked they wanted her to be their mother. But as soon as she found out, one of her students wasn't kidding.
Some days I felt upset, angry, lost.
They taking me from my safe place and placing me in a home with strangers that, I didn't have any help or anyone to turn to or anything like that.
Anthony was placed in foster care when he was 6 years old due to his birth mom's drug use while pregnant with his baby sister. He knew about God's love through his grandmother and tried to stay hopeful in a tough situation.
I prayed sometimes when I was feeling down, and then other days I questioned him. Why am I here? Why can't I find anyone to love me? Why can't I go back home?
He lived in group homes for 9 years, hoping to be adopted, yet afraid of being let down.
I didn't get my hopes up for anything, basically, because I didn't want to get my hopes up too high and it not happen, because deep down I wanted it to work. I wanted to get out the system. I didn't want to deal with the bonds of being a ward of the state anymore. I just wanted, have a loving family, a forever home.
At 15 years old and after a failed adoption, he began losing hope. He got in trouble at his high school and was sent to Pathways Alternative School, where he met Dr. Bennie Berry, a teacher at the school.
And he came there and he volunteered to say the pledge at the beginning of the day. He volunteered, he was in ROTC at his home campus. He volunteered to hang the flag. I was impressed. I felt like, oh, this kid is a leader. This kid is a leader. He's different from the rest. He has initiative.
Bennie was single and had no children of her own. In class, students joked that they loved Dr. Berry and wished she was their mom. Anthony jumped in and wasn't joking.
The discussion went to families. And some of the kids are saying, well, I've been trying to get Miss Berry to take me home. And so Anthony said, oh, you can take me home for real. And I said, well, no, you have, your parents are doing the best. Respect your parents the way you respect me, and you'll be okay. And he's like, no, really, I'm in foster care. And so a couple of students and myself, we didn't know. And we kind of gasped, like, really, you're in foster care?
I actually was like, yeah, you can adopt me. Will you, or have you thought about adoption, or, Then we got deeper into the conversation.
And I said, well, if you're gonna be my kid, if you was ever my kid, you have to be good. And he said, for how long? And I said, forever. God, what are you talking about? So he said, well, you can, look me up. I can be adopted. You can take me home.
Anthony gave Bennie his information and the adoption website.
I had never planned on adopting because I didn't know. I didn't know the process for adopting. Only thing I knew about adoption is what I've seen on like a Lifetime movie. I never really believed, I'll say in the first few days, that it was something that I could do.
It came time for me to leave Pathways, and I was like, don't you forget about me, and she didn't forget.
When it became more real, I had to pray about everything. I asked God to order my steps, everything that I want to do. I was like, okay, Lord, show me that what I'm doing is not just raw emotion. It is what I really should do. So I felt like God was showing me, yes, this is what you need to do, step by step, ordering it, ordained.
To Bennie's amazement, there were no roadblocks to the application process, and soon they began a trial adoption period. Later that year, on National Adoption Day 2017, Bennie officially adopted Anthony.
I was very nervous. It was, all the anxiety and the tension, like, this is really happening. Today's the day. We both couldn't sleep the night before. We spent most of the time talking to each other. So that was a very good bonding period.
National Adoption Day was an emotional day. My name was put on his birth certificate. His name was officially changed. It became real on that day. Everything we had prayed for, every step that I had asked God to order, we're now at the end of the road. It's over. It is official. We are a family. Nobody can change it.
You brought me through that.
The trait that best defines this new family of two is gratitude for one another and to God, who opened the door and their hearts.
He's bringing us all the way. He's carrying us. Like he carried the cross, he's carrying us on his back. I'm thankful for her just loving me and taking a 16-year-old, 15 going on 16-year-old boy into her home, a troubled boy at that. I love it. It's something that I never thought I would have. I'm happy. For someone my age to get adopted, it's very rare.
I didn't know that I could love somebody so much besides my parents. I needed him probably as much or more than he needed me. I don't tell him a lot because I don't want to think he has the upper hand. But I am more than proud of him. I thank God for the opportunity to help mold somebody who I know is going to do wonderful things.
What a picture of how it's supposed to be. A picture of how it's not supposed to be, and then a picture of how it's supposed to be. You know, children were not meant to be raised in systems. They were meant to be raised in families, and that's a God idea. And can you see all of the reasons why? This is a young man who was troubled because he didn't know who he was. He felt unlovable. He felt like he was hanging out there by himself, not knowing how to live life. And then along came Bennie Berry, God bless her. And I know that Anthony has brought much to Bennie's life as well. But you know, the process began really when Bennie took Anthony's request seriously, when she began to look into it, when she began to say, God, could you be in this? Because God asks us to do unusual things sometimes, difficult things sometimes, things we wouldn't have seen ourselves doing. But here's the big message. The Bible says God puts the lonely in families. There are children like Anthony stuck in the system, been there for years and years, moved from family to family to family, but never belonging. And they would love to have a family. If God lays that on your heart, do your homework and pray, and then find out whether you're supposed to consider the same decision that Bennie Berry did. There's a child looking for you. Are you the one who has the heart, the steadfastness, the time, and the call of God upon your life to be there? God's adopted us, and what a wonderful picture of that great love that he had to make us his own, to give us his name, and then to love us and stand with us through the journey of life. What a great story. Well, here's another great story. You know, we believe that family is a God idea. After Lilia's husband died, she struggled to support her 3 children as a single mom. Soon the family had no heat, they had no electricity, no running water. That's when Lilia, still grieving for her husband, found out that she might lose her children as well.
Lilia and her 3 children live in Transnistria near Moldova. They work hard to keep their small home tidy and their garden well tended. They're just happy to be together because not long ago they were almost torn apart.
They wanted to take us away from our mother.
It had only been a few months since Lilia and her children had faced another tragic loss.
When my husband died, I did not want to leave.
Lilia struggled to support her family, and her home fell into disrepair. They had no heat, no electricity, and no running water. But despite their desperate living conditions, Lilia's children remained devoted to her.
She's my mother. She gave us life. I love her very, very much.
I only wanted one thing, that my kids would be near me, that they could go to school and live normally.
Government social workers heard about the family's living conditions and came with an ultimatum. Make improvements in 1 week, or we will take your children.
I was so afraid that I will lose my mother forever.
That's when CBN's Orphans Promise stepped in. We heard about Lilia and her children from a local church partner in our Keeping Families Together program. We began the needed repairs to Lilia's house immediately.
They helped us to make repairs. They brought seeds and all the tools we needed to plant a garden. They gave us food as we wait for our garden to grow, and 2 piglets.
We also repaired their oven and fence and connected their house to clean running water. And to ensure that their home will never be lost to foreclosure, We help provide the funds to pay it off completely.
Oh, thank you. It's ours now. I will have more opportunities for work.
Thank you very much for everything.
Orphans Promise is CBN's outreach to vulnerable and orphan children around the world. One of the things we are always doing is stepping into desperate situations like this so that children don't become orphaned. These children would have been thrown into a system, thrown into an orphanage, and may have never been able to be with their mom again. My own daughters came out of an orphanage of 350 kids. That's not a home, that's an institution. This is a mom who loved her children and who came upon hard times. Can you imagine how terrifying it would have been for those kids to have been taken away from their mom? You allowed us, because of your kindness and generosity, to step right into the midst of that situation, keep this family together, help them to prosper, understand that it was the love of God that brought all of this to them, and we stay in touch with these people that we serve. So we want to say thank you. This is one family that represents thousands that you are making a difference in the lives of. So thank you. If you'd like to be a part of the work that Orphans Promise is doing around the world, we would love to have you join us in that endeavor, and you can do it by giving your gift to Orphans Promise. You can go to orphanspromise.org if you'd like to find out more about what we're doing. We'd love to tell you more about the story of children in need around the world, and we say thank you in advance. You know, this is the next generation. We can change lives, we can change families, we can change communities. Ultimately, we believe that you can change nations. So help us invest in these lives, won't you? Still ahead, after a night of drinking, a young woman wakes up with blood on her hands in more ways than one.
He took their driver's license and he threw them at me across the table. And he said, you've murdered these two people.
Find out what happened after the accident when we come back.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in